Okay, good. All right. Well, hello and welcome everyone to our first My Career Story of 2024. We're very excited to have you here. As you can see, if you've been following our stories before, we're in a different space. So today we are at Metro Community College's Fort Campus inside one of their workforce development buildings. So we're right here on the ground floor, hopefully get some foot traffic from students, easily accessible, and we're super excited to be here. We will be moving around to different locations throughout the year, but this one will be definitely one of our favorites. So today we are going to talk about a healthcare sector, and we have the wonderful Erin Pearson here, who is a strategic talent outreach consultant for Children's Hospital in Omaha. Big title. What does that mean? I'm sure she'll hit on that, and she'll also hit on how she came to be there and the journey with it. So without further ado, Erin Pearson.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good to see everyone. If I haven't had the privilege of meeting you yet, my name is Erin Pearson. Like she said, I'm the Strategic Talent Outreach Consultant with Children's Nebraska, formerly Children's Hospital and Medical Center. Really long title. I'll explain a little bit what that all means and the work that I do daily with the organization. But first, I would love to give you guys just a little bit of insight into my career journey, kind of how I got into healthcare, which was a place that I never saw myself working in at all. If you know me, you can attest to that. So yeah, I'll just give you a little bit of background on my journey. Nebraska girl, born and raised. I was actually, I grew up in a town called Pleasantdale, Nebraska. It sounds like it's out of a movie. I get that all the time. They're like, no, you didn't. It's a village of 250 people, just about 30 minutes west of Lincoln. And it was a wonderful experience growing up. I grew up on a farm right outside of town, was able to really have that storybook childhood where like me and my friends rode our bikes until the street lights came on. And then we had to race home, right? So mom and dad didn't get mad at us, but it was an awesome upbringing. Parents, very blue collar workers. My dad worked for an animal medication plant in Lincoln. And then my mom is actually set to retire this year. She's been with the state of Nebraska working for the Legislative Fiscal Office for over 40 years. She is still at her job. She got straight out of college, which kudos to her. I don't know if I could ever do that, but the woman does not like change. And so she just decided to stay in that role. But like I said, very blue collar upbringing. My family still lives out there. I've got a brother and a sister that I grew up on the farm with. And if you ask my husband, he would say you're definitely not a farm girl, even though I claim to be born and raised on a farm. And there's probably a little bit of truth in that. I went to Milford High School for my education. A little bit different than the education systems here in the Omaha area. I graduated with a group of 50 people, which I know is probably what's in one classroom outside of other people's entire class sizes. But loved it, was able to participate in all of the sports, participate in all of the clubs. And it was just, again, it was a great experience growing up. A little bit about me currently. In 2006, I moved to Omaha. Met my husband, Justin, who is here in this picture with me. We both worked at Kona Grill. I spent all of my college years in the food industry, either serving or bartending. And so we met there. He worked there as well. We were friends for 2 years before we ever started dating. I said that was a good game plan because I got to learn all the dirt on him before I decided that I wanted to date him. But we've been married for, let's see, it'll be 13 years this year, which is crazy to say. And then, of course, the two best things that came out of that relationship, along with my husband, are our two boys. I have an almost 10-year-old Jack, and then my 7-year-old Brody. We are a sports family. I grew up doing sports. My husband grew up doing sports. And so any weekend, you are going to find us either on a field or on a court. I might complain about it a little bit, but honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. I am that mom that is yelling nonstop, positive things, but from the sidelines. And so they're awesome. Everything I do and my why every day is truly for my family. They're the reason I get up. They're the reason that I pour in the extra hours. I commit my time, my energy, and they really do fuel my passion for what I do. Okay, so back to my story. Graduated from Milford High School in 2003. And when I was in high school, it was a little bit different. It wasn't, we didn't have all the opportunities that exist today, and especially the opportunities that exist within a big metro area like Omaha. We weren't really ever given the opportunity for internships. Of course, when you're in a town that small, there's not a lot of local opportunities to work and to intern. We also didn't have a lot of like career conversations with our teachers or our guidance counselors. It really was like kind of a three option course of moving forward. It was, okay, you're going to go to the community college. Okay, you're going to go to the University of Nebraska, or okay, you're not going to college and you're going to go and work at the farm that you grew up in or things like that. And so it really wasn't like, I don't want to say they didn't let us dream big, but there just wasn't really a lot of intention behind it. And I think because when you grew up in a small town, there's a lot of practicality that comes with that. And it's just like, well, here's the way that we've always done things. And so we're going to continue doing that. So I decided to take one of those routes. I started my education at Southeast Community College in Lincoln. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew, okay, I probably should go to college. So I decided to go into the general studies program. And after about 2 years, I earned my associates of science in that. And then it was like, okay, now really, what do I want to do? Do I want to go on to the university system? Do I want to go straight into my career and start working? And I decided I think I just needed a change. And so picked up from Lincoln, moved to Omaha. If you were to ask my family at the time, I would have been moving to California. They were like, oh my gosh, Omaha, it's so big. What are you doing? But decided to move to Omaha. And like I said, I started working at Kona Girl during that time, still trying to figure things out, and really decided, okay, I know I want to go and pursue my bachelor's. And so joined or started going to the University of Nebraska, Omaha, go Maps, and was going for a marketing degree. So I was in the business college. It was okay. I will be completely honest. I was like, all right, like if this is what college is about, I can do this. And then I encountered accounting 2 and macroeconomics in the same semester. And I was like, never mind. Like, I don't know if I am a business major. And I don't think this is really the path that I'm going to go forward. So the great thing about college is they will let you pivot as much as you want because that means more dollars for them, right? And so my advisor was like, yeah, let's get you into a new program. Where's your passion? And really, does anyone remember the show Melrose Place? All right. So I loved that show. And I was like, well, maybe I want to like go into public relations like Amanda on that show. And so I decided to switch my major into the School of Communications. And I went in for a journalism degree into PR and advertising, still maintain that marketing major. And really with the emphasis or like with the desired goal of, okay, like I do think I want to go into that like kind of media relations, communications role. But I also knew communications is so broad. It was probably an avenue that I'd be able to do something with regardless. If you would have asked me at age of 23, okay, in 15 years, where I am now, where are you going to be in your career? And I probably would have said, oh, I'm going to be like in New York or Chicago, working for some like magazine or something really cool. And, just, yeah, really made it. That didn't happen, but thank God it didn't happen because life is really good as it is now. So I went to the University of Omaha or Nebraska at Omaha, graduated in 2010. To complete my graduation, I actually had to do an internship. And so thankful for that requirement. Really forced me kind of out of my comfort zone and applied for a few different ones. Ended up taking one with State Farm, which was awesome. And I'll be completely transparent. I took it because over some of the other offers that were kind of maybe more targeted towards what I want to do because they paid me. I got a car, I got a laptop, all these things that came with an internship that are pretty standard now, but back then it really wasn't. So took the internship, was able to work with a team of local business leaders here that helped manage and market about half the agents in the Omaha community. So it was a really great learning experience. I was fortunate enough where it ended up rolling into a full-time role right after graduation. So that was great. I still got to work with that team. And it was just a huge learning curve. I had no idea what I was doing. Definitely didn't see myself ever in the insurance industry. But there were a lot of moving pieces with it. And again, it wasn't doing all of like the day-to-day insurance stuff. It was more, how do we make our agents successful? As I've had time in my career to reflect on those pieces of, or like that particular time period of my career, it's been interesting to see. So growing up in a small town, women in particular, I saw women in just very limited ways as far as their career. They were stay-at-home moms, they were teachers, and they were secretaries. There wasn't a big bandwidth or a lot of different exposure to any other things. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those things. There absolutely isn't, but it's just really all I had been exposed to. And I knew I didn't really identify with either of those kind of pathways. And so joining that team with State Farm, I was lucky enough to really come under the wing of some really powerful women. When I started the full-time role with them, I was one of 3 women in that role that really gave me insights into women in powerful roles and women being respected as leaders just as much or more as their male counterparts. And it's something that really kind of lit a fire that I don't even think I really quite knew was lit at the time. But looking back on it, I always say hindsight's 2020. And so it really was cool. And I'm so grateful that I was exposed to that, because I think it's definitely created the drive for me in the different pursuits in my career as I've continued to move on. So like I said, worked for State Farm. You'll hear me talk a little bit in a few minutes about how I believe in the power of connection. But it was one of those connections that really led me to my next career adventure. So while I was with State Farm, part of my role was kind of like executive assistant to this leader, and she needed a mortgage. She was refinancing her house. And so I basically owned her life. Anything that she needed to be like, just handle it. You have like my social security number, all of that, just do it for me. And so I worked with her mortgage lender in refinancing a house, which at 23 years of age, to have to refinance your boss's mortgage, that's stressful. Trust me. I was like, I have no idea what's a mortgage. I don't know what I'm doing. But anyway, and so in working with that loan officer, I will never forget, and I'm glad I didn't, because one day when we were done with the loan, he said, "Hey, I would never steal you, but if you're ever looking for a career opportunity, come talk to me." And so I was like, "Oh, okay, that was nice, whatever." Well, then 9 months later, my boss said, "I'm moving to Bemidji," or she was moving to Bemidji, Minnesota, which, of those of you that don't know where Bemidji is, it's basically Canada. And she was like, "You should come with me. I'm starting my own office and it'll be great." And I was like, "No, I'm definitely not going north if I move." And so knew I wanted to stay here. And I remembered this guy had said, "Hey, call me if you ever want to move." And so I was like, okay, what the heck? I just will. Right. And so I reached out. "Hey, I don't know if you remember me. My name's Erin, worked for State Farm, did this mortgage." He invited me to his office the next day, said, "Let's talk about what could be hired." And I was hired within about 24 hours. And that was all from just the simple power of a connection and then following through with it. And so went into mortgage lending. I did more of around the business development side of it. I wasn't originating any mortgages. Again, communications major, so finance, really not my thing. But I love the business development piece of it because I got to interact with people like all day long. So that was great. Plus helping people buy their first home. There's a lot of like reward in that. So really loved what I did. I was also lucky enough, the owner of the mortgage company was very entrepreneurial. He wanted to explore tons of different things. And so he was able to bring me along for some startups that he did, a little bit in the healthcare space. But I was able to really see, okay, what does it take to run a business from a ground up? What are all the different elements that are needed? And so just really, again, kind of bringing that 360 knowledge to business kind of into my lens. And so really fortunate to see that. About 5 years in, I started to just kind of get the itch of I need change. I need something else. And so I decided, okay, why not? I really like this company. I really like the team I work for. Let me try to originate my own loans and really become a mortgage loan officer. So I did that. I hated it. Like I knew I would. All the number, I mean, I would start sweating and like dread when loans came into my pipeline. So definitely knew that wasn't going to be a long lasting solution for me. However, one thing that it did force me to do, I was in charge of getting my own loans, getting my own business. And so it forced me to get out into the community and network with other business professionals, which again, so thankful in retrospect, because that was another piece that really contributed to my path of where I was going to go in my career. So that was amazing. Through that networking, I was able to join a bunch of different organizations and meet a ton of just really interesting, dynamic people, learned from them along the way. And one of the organizations that I joined was called Centersphere. It was a local startup here, a professional networking platform. Got really involved with the chapter that I was in. Still have great friends in that came from that chapter today that I'm connected with. But had been involved enough, and we had a good enough performing chapter that Centersphere, the organization, reached out to me and said, "Hey, we'd like to talk to you about coming on board the executive team with them." I was like, okay, whatever. We'll see. Like your little Centersphere. Well, I did not know that they had their eyes on big national growth. And so was able to go in and talk to them. I already knew a lot of them, again, through that networking relationship that I had built with everyone in the organization. And was lucky enough to be offered a position to come in and really focus with their area leaders on growth and strategy all across the country. And so that was amazing. We were able to grow into 21 states with my tenure at Centersphere. When I tell you that I had no idea what I was doing and was really in a fake it till you make it situation, that is 100% what I did. That I had no idea, like, who am I to tell these area leaders their best growth strategies, how to retain their membership. Like, these people are 20 to 30 years older than me in some cases. Like, who is little old Erin? But someone had told me at one of these networking events one time, because I had to get up like I'm doing now and give like a presentation. And I was so nervous, like I was sweating, like visibly shaking with everything. And he just said, "You just got to wear that hat. Like, no one knows, like, if you're in front of a room, no one knows who you are. If you're in a new job, no one knows really like that you're not comfortable with it. So just decide to wear that hat and be like, okay, I'm a rock star. I got this. I know exactly what I'm doing, even though you might not have any clue what you're doing." And so that's been a piece of advice that I've definitely taken with me and definitely took into that role at Centersphere. So Centersphere, I was with them for 4 years. I was able to grow within that organization, took on a VP role my second year. And then at the beginning of 2020 was promoted to president of the company, and then actually got the opportunity to come in as a partner as well, which was great. I got to see, again, even more dynamics of kind of the business and that 360 view. But it came with its challenges as well. So in 2020, we know what happened. A pandemic hit. I will never forget, I was at actually a community event on March 12th. And I remember, like, that was when we got the calls from the schools and like things were starting to cancel. And I remember thinking to myself, I run an organization that is built and thrives on people getting together in person to maintain and create relationships. And truly just thought, crap, I don't know what to do. And so it was really trying. Really proud to say we maintained, we even grew on the outside of it, because I think we put our servant hats on and decided, okay, this isn't about us. This is about the people that we are here for and the people that we are in business for. And so that was amazing. Also, during that time, I think a lot of organizations had the time to like reflect and pivot. Centersphere was no different. And so we were able to take a look at our current technology, figure out what we needed to do to kind of improve for this next round of growth. And so I took on a redesign of our website and membership management platform. When I say I'm bad at finance, I'm even worse at anything tech. And so it was 100,000% out of my comfort zone. I had no idea what I was doing. I was balancing the issues of trying to keep this in-person business going while trying to build out and work with tech teams in a language that truly I did not understand. The team at Centersphere was small. And so as president, it wasn't that I could maintain at that 30,000 foot level. I really had to get into the granular of a lot of things. And at the end, as 2021, the beginning of 2021 came around, as I think a lot of people did in 2020, I had reached full levels of burnout and I was suffering from anxiety. I found no more joy in my work. I felt like I was failing daily. And I wasn't bringing my best self. It really was something where I wasn't showing up for the people that I was serving. I wasn't showing up for my family. I wasn't showing up for me. And so I knew something had to change. And again, none of that to be said that Centers Here wasn't a blessing. It absolutely was. I would not be here today if it wasn't for that opportunity that was given to me. But I think it's also wise when we know when it's time to move on and to stop dragging out something that is just not of the benefit for either sides of that equation. So I am blessed enough to have a husband that said, you've just got to jump. If you wait until you have something somewhere to land, you wait until that next opportunity, you're never going to put in the time to find it. You're too busy with what you're doing now. You just have to jump and we're going to be okay. And I can never thank my husband enough for that because he's right. I totally wouldn't have jumped. And so it was great. And so if there's ever opportunity, I know that not everyone has the opportunity to just take those leaps of faith, but I promise you, it's so rewarding. It is so releasing to just know that like, hey, you know what, I'm going to be all right. Like we've got things in place. I've got believing in your strengths and just saying, I know that I'm going to come out okay on the other side of this. So was able to take that jump. In October, I put in my notice. I consulted with the company for a few months as they transitioned through my exit. And on January 1st of 2022, I was unemployed, completely unemployed. I am a control freak, like self-described control freak, and I did not like that one bit. Everything was out of my control. Now, again, everything's 2020 in hindsight, like, man, I wish I would have like drug out that unemployment stretch a little longer because it was nice, like just not having to do a job for a while. But was looking, I had been in the process of interviewing with some other companies for new opportunities. And I remember I was sitting on my couch at home. I was closing my laptop. I had been on LinkedIn and something caught my eye and I opened it up and it said Children's Hospital, the strategic talent outreach consultant role. I'm like, ooh, no idea what that means, but that sounds cool. Like that's a neat title. I like it. Children's Hospital. Okay, I can get behind that. So I applied that night. I'm a firm believer of like what's meant to be will be. And so within the next day, I had a call for an interview. I was already pretty far along with some other process. Thought I had my map of where I was going to go. Then this totally threw a wrench in it, a good wrench. And I was able to accept an offer to come on the children's team and started mid-March of 2022, which has been amazing. And so Children's Nebraska is what we are currently. It was formerly Children's Hospital and Medical Center. We rebranded in October of 2023. And this has been nothing but like, I honestly feel like I'm living my dream role. And I feel like everything that I've walked through in my career put me in a prepared state to take on what this role was for the organization. Children's Hospital, full service pediatric hospital serving the greater Omaha area. We serve Southern South Dakota and Western Iowa as well. And healthcare had always been, or had never been something that had been on my radar, but but what has always been on my radar is people. And so knowing that it was a role that I could go into and really just work with diverse groups of people, everyone different age, race, ethnicity, work like path. It was something that really appealed to me because one thing that I do know about myself is I am not a creature of monotony. I appreciate those that can do the same thing day in and day out. That is not me. It's definitely not where I thrive. And so loved this. For the organization, it was a new role. COVID, of course, had thrown tons of industries on their head. Healthcare may have been at the top of that. And where children's pre-COVID, really from a recruitment and talent acquisition standpoint, they had to make sure that they were good at telling people thank you, but no, because we don't have the positions for you to take on. That was flipped completely on its head, and we didn't have enough people to fill positions. We were dealing with an industry completely covered in burnout. We were dealing with a generation that had decided to retire early because they didn't want to deal with going through that pandemic, and I do not blame them at all. And we were dealing with an up and coming workforce that wasn't going into the educational pathways that we needed them to be able to take care of our patients. And so they decided, okay, we need to be more proactive in this. And so that's where the strategic talent outreach role came on. And what I love about my role, outside of like all the different people and everything, I really was given the creative space to say, okay, what do you think it should be? And I'm not going to lie, in that first month, I was like, I have no idea. I don't even know what these people are saying in meetings, because if you've ever been to healthcare, everyone talks in acronyms. If they're not talking in acronyms, the words are this long. I have no idea what any of these things mean. But I faked it till I make it. I just put on that hat and said, yep, got it. Super confident with what I'm doing. I know exactly where we're going to go with this game plan. And I think it's working because I'm still employed and they haven't fired me yet. So that's great. But really when I think about that fire, and really where your passion can come from, I truly cannot think of a mission more than helping the life of every child, that I can get behind more than that. Like that's something that like, even from my far off way, I'm not on the clinical side at all. I don't do anything with direct patient care. But in my own small little way, I'm impacting those families and those lives. And if I ever need to be reminded of that, I just take a small stroll through that hospital and see those that we are serving. And my passion is lit again. And so it's an amazing opportunity. I love it there. I hope to grow there in the years to come. And it's been really great. So just a couple key, oh, also just for those of you that can see on the screen and those of you here in person, like I said, I do feel like it's my dream role. And I feel like it's really important when you're trying to figure out your career, do what you love, right? I mean, I don't really like the cliche saying like, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. No, it's still work because there are still elements of it that are not lovable. I hate my expense reports, hate them with a passion, but I have to do them twice a month. But this is what I love. I get to work with people as young as elementary school and as mature, I won't call them old, mature as retirees. And so it's amazing. Just the different conversations that I get to have and the different dynamics that play out in those. I have to tell you a story. So a lot of my work, if you can see here, is done with youth populations. A lot of just like proactive pipeline work again, and like trying to get them interested in careers in healthcare and education. And through that pipeline work, one of the things that we did at Children's this last summer was we created a high school internship that it's called our Pathways to Healthcare program. And it allowed students to come in, do clinical rotations in the morning, work with me and my team on professional development and things like that. Visited MCC on a field trip. That was super fun. And so we had those students for those 8 weeks in the summer. I never went into education because I like kids, but I didn't really like kids, right? Like I knew I wasn't meant to be a teacher. However, with this internship, I found such a love of helping these kids, working with these kids, learning from these kids we couldn't have come from different upbringings and backgrounds. Like we were as different as they came. But I fell in love with them, to be completely honest. And I found a whole nother lane of passion for me. And so just this last week, I got a text from one of the interns who is now at UNO. And she just said, hey, do you have a couple minutes to chat later on this afternoon? I'm like, oh gosh, yeah, sure, whatever, call her. And I cannot tell you how honored I was. She just wanted my advice on some life things that she was dealing with in college, and just like, hey, like I just don't know what to do, like help guide me. And beyond honored, honestly. And again, it was just like, I was smiles all whole afternoon, because like that's our why, right? Like those sort of things, like it just totally reiterated and redefined my why. And so love getting to do what I do, love find something where you love what you do. So if I had any takeaways and kind of my big learns in my career, it's been a few of these things. First is get involved. I just had coffee with a gentleman probably a few months ago, but he was like, I say yes to every board ask I get. He's like, I've sat on so many boards. I know I'm getting a no. He's like, I feel like I have a full-time job just being a board member. He's like, but it's connected me to so many people. And it really has been the trajectory of my career has been based on the amount of involvement that I get into. And so when I came on to Centers here about that same time in 2018, there was a nonprofit that was starting from the ground up. It was called Omaha Leaders. It's all about leadership development. And I was lucky enough to be asked to be a foundational board member with that. And so the relationships that I made through that have absolutely impacted my career. Definitely, like I said, being involved in any sort of networking space that has forced me out. Force yourself out of your comfort bubble and make those connections. Make those connections in the community, make those connections with people. And what will happen is you'll actually probably start to enjoy them, and they'll probably infiltrate your personal life as well. Like I said, I have so many friends that have come from these sorts of organizations that I work with and devote some time to. There's also power in giving back. And so in being involved, do some philanthropic work as well. Become involved with local nonprofits. It truly, I can't speak enough how much I have learned in just being involved with the community. A couple other things. I totally believe in being a lifelong learner. When we stop learning, we stop growing. And so constantly be pushing yourself, whether that's in your current career now, maybe it's going out and getting another certification. Maybe it's going out and like just do like, maybe you want to take a culinary class. But I believe all of that work ethic contributes to our careers. Currently, right now, I'm pursuing my master's. Never thought I would pursue my master's either. Definitely not I don't love being a student. I love learning, but not so much in the formal education space, but decided, hey, you know what, like this will be something that I may not, or I may regret if I don't do. And so be a lifelong learner. Look forward to failure. I can't tell you how many times I have failed, which it's countless. And out of those failures, I learned so much more than out of my wins. And I'm able to come out stronger on the other side and wiser. And so really look forward to failing. That seems so counterintuitive. And not that failing is fun, but there's always going to be big takeaways out of failure. Another big learn, and this kind of came out of that 2020 space, but boundaries are beautiful. In my career, I've been known as kind of like, oh, we'll just give it to Erin. Like, yeah, she'll do it. That'll be great. Like, yeah, won't mind. And I put that on myself because I was a yes person. Like, sure, yes, happy to do it. A couple things from that. One, it does contribute to any sort of burnout or just honestly getting mad at people. Like I found myself like being angry that people kept asking me to do things, but why would they not? Because I always said yes. But then I had the opportunity to talk to a business coach about it one time and just, man, I don't know why I'm always the one that's having to do things. It's like people have no respect for my boundaries. And she was like, well, one, you didn't give them any boundaries. So of course they wouldn't know it. And she was like, and two, by you saying yes to everything, you're taking the opportunity away from someone else to do it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, yes, that is exactly what I need to hear. So now I'm a very big fan of gracious no's, like, thank you, but no. And it's definitely created that safe space within my career. I knew when I went into children's, I was like, I am drawing those lines and I'm sticking to them. Not that I never work evenings or not that I never work early. In fact, some of you in this room may have gotten a 5:30 a.m. email from me periodically. I apologize for that. It's kind of my time. But I just wasn't willing to shift on those boundaries. I knew what it did to me personally. I knew what it did to my family and I knew what it did to my work. And so creating boundaries is beautiful. Love them. And then finally, my biggest learn, people matter. It goes back to those real connections and those real relationships that I've had the opportunity to make in my career. And it's really the little things. I think people are so, especially when it comes to work, it's what's next? How do I get to the next level? And it's really the simple things when it comes to building those connections and working with people that make a difference. I love handwritten cards. I have a reminder on my for Fridays to send 3 handwritten cards every week, whether it's someone I've interacted with, maybe it's someone, thank you, maybe it's someone I haven't heard from in 2 years, but it's like, hey, thinking of you. Because how cool does that feel to get a handwritten card? And I mean, you're opening it for sure. You know, it's not a bill. And someone took the time to think about you. And I think there's a lot of power in that. Take time for that small talk. Like in all of when I came on board, I scheduled meetings with all of the recruiters, basically everyone in HR. I was like, hey, I'm going to schedule a meeting. A lot of people were like, I don't really know why we're meeting. And I was like, I just want to get to know you. I don't want to talk work at all. I just want to like, tell me about your family. Tell me where you came from. Tell me why you're doing this. People matter and people are going to help you get you to where you want to go. In my career, I've luckily only had to apply for one job. That was a children's job. Otherwise, it's all been the power of connection and those people getting me to the next level. So I hope all of this made sense. I hope you guys found it interesting. I'd love to take any questions if you guys have any. Thanks. All right. Perfect. Oh, yeah.
What advice would you give not people for networking?
Oh, that's good. Okay, so if there is a couldn't hear, what advice would I give to maybe your non-people with networking? I'm gonna go back to that hat. And it like kind of pretend you like to network. It's going to get more comfortable, I promise. In fact, if you would have seen me in junior high, I was really introverted. I had really low self-esteem. To be up here, it just would not happen. It would not have happened. I would have cried and ran out before you made me stand up here. But because of just like, how life happens and whatever, I've been forced into situations where I've had to do these kind of things. And so I would say practice, 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 force yourself to be uncomfortable. I promise it will not remain uncomfortable. And it's okay if you're networking and you're walking into a big room and there's 100 people there, you're like, oh my gosh, that's 100 people. Find one person. Find that other person that might be like kind of on the outside, like, oh gosh, looking kind of nervous, and have that conversation. I prefer the more intimate networking space, having those one-to-one coffees or things like that. I've never had a one-on-one conversation like that where I haven't taken away something that I could help that person with, or vice versa. Even if it's not immediately, it might be 6 months down the road, but I'm like, hey, I do know someone that did that. So the intimate networking is completely okay as well, but I would just say it comes with time, it comes with practice, and it will get better, and you'll probably end up enjoying it a little bit in the long run. Yeah.
So for your exterior sphere, what were some solutions that you had to enact during that pandemic of 2020?
Oh, that's good. What were some solutions I had to enact in that kind of pandemic phase with center sphere? Really had to learn to kind of let go. Again, control freak. There were a million things that we had no control over in the pandemic. So really had to learn to let go, kind of let what's going to happen. How to also learn, I think this was the word of 2020 was pivot. Like, right, we were constantly pivoting. And so got really good at that flexibility. And luckily one of my strengths is adaptability. So that wasn't too hard for me. But I would say those two things also just I said it before and I'll say it again, had to remember the why and what we were really like called to do with our work. And it was to serve people. And so keeping that at the forefront, because the everydays were hard. And they weren't necessarily rewarding, especially from a business standpoint, where like we just saw the dollars kind of lower, and like, oh gosh, what are we gonna do? But just reminding myself of that why a lot, and was able to get me through onto that other side. Good question. Yeah.
How do you measure success in your career, and are there still goals for your career that you have yet to achieve?
Ah, that's good. How do I measure success? It's funny, my boss and I, we talk a lot about like with my outreach work, how do we like effectively measure the outcomes? And truly in my, so to get tactical for that answer first, it's hard to measure success in my role because it is such a long endeavor. I truly if I were to fast forward 15 years from now, be like, oh my gosh, this is a huge success. It's because however it came about, I engaged through this work at Children's with Timmy, who's a first grader. And I exposed him to a career in healthcare because a nurse came and read to his class. And he something fed him, and we kept engaging along the way. And all of a sudden I'm a coworker of Timmy's at Children's on the back end. And he's loving what he does. That to me would be like the ultimate success map for my work in Children's. But from a generally broad speaking place, I would say success in my career, it comes with that personal fulfillment and really how it bleeds into other aspects of my life. Work is a lot. It's at a minimum, I'd say for all of us, 40 hours a week. And then we do the emails and even just our thoughts going into it on our off hours. And so I know it takes up a huge chunk of life, but it is not our life. There are so many elements of life that exist outside of it. And so I would say enjoying how it bleeds into the other aspects of my life would be how I would measure success, which I'm still navigating, but I feel like doing a better job at. Did you have another layer to that question?
Yeah, any goals that are still outstanding?
That's good. Honestly, career-wise, I love what I do. It like I said before, I'm in my dream job, at least for this current season in my life. And so really just to expand upon the work, build a team under me, I think would be really kind of more the immediate goals. I love Children's Nebraska. I would love to stay with them, really grow my roots deep with their mission and vision, and continuing to just kind of spread my wings within that organization. So yeah, I'd say those are goals. you have a question?
Yeah, we work with a lot of young people who just have no idea what they want to do. So if you were talking to a student who was like, I mean, my mom sent me to college, but I don't know what I should do. What would be your like baseline advice?
Oh my gosh, just like explore it all, right? And the best way to explore it is to like talk to people and get to know them and like dive into like what they're doing. And so just explore. And then like going back to 2020, pivot. Like there is nothing wrong with changing course. I think so many times, especially now, with youth coming up through education systems, I think it's so great because they have so many opportunities to kind of establish early on a career pathway. But oh my gosh, can you imagine being 14 years old and saying, okay, this is what I'm going to dedicate my life to, is this career pathway? No way. Like, I think I wanted to be an attorney at that time in my life. Like, no way. And so I just think explore and be okay to change it, because changing it doesn't mean you failed. It means you learned something new about yourself or this pathway, and you want to go a different direction. So the wise thing would be to change. So that's what I would say.
How do you protect your time with your goal of not sitting down to do one all? That seems a little dangerous to work-life balance and burnout if you're not.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a little bit, those two statements kind of challenge each other, right? Like, okay, I'm going to say no and have boundaries, but then I'm saying get in as involved as possible. I'm lucky enough where I work in a position where I do have flexibility. And so part of my role is being out in the community. And so I realize my position is a little unique. I would say to just be conscious of that time. Like if you, and be aware of your boundaries and like your capacity as well. When I say get as involved as possible, it doesn't mean like I could never be someone that said, yes, I'm going to say yes to every board position possible. Nope, that's not me. That's not my season of life. I've got 2 little boys. Like that is not going to happen. Could it be someday? Maybe, because my season will change. And so being aware of what season you're in, where your demands outside of, or within like that workspace, within that family space, and then figuring out how much of it do you want to dedicate. I think to tiptoe into it instead of sprinting full forward into involvement is a great way. Get a pattern established, and then see if it's something that you want to take on more. But even getting involved like with one organization, one nonprofit, one networking group, that's going to be better than not getting involved at all. So that would probably be my advice there.
What's your favorite association?
Oh, what's my favorite? There's this group called Employ Oma that I just, my favorite association. I'm going to have a heart for like those intentional networking groups all day long. I've seen businesses just built, lives changed because of those groups. So, I'll say Center Sphere, from that standpoint. And then also, again, probably a duh, but I loved my work with Omaha leaders. I loved growing. When it comes to leadership, it's something I'm super passionate about. I don't think we need a title to be a leader, and I think we can lead in whatever space we're at. And so having those conversations, being able to grow my own leadership through an organization like that has been really powerful. So I would say those two are probably my favorite associations or groups that I belong to. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Right. Thank you so much, Erin, for being here with us. As a reminder to folks, we always post the recordings online at the Heartland Workforce Solutions website. So if you wanted to go back, check it out again, get a pep talk for wearing that hat, that will be available. And stay tuned for us as we have our February My Career Story next month. Thank you so much.